In Hollywood, where love stories can feel like they have a shorter shelf life than a carton of milk, some romances manage to shine brighter and last longer than anyone expects. They become legendary, setting a standard for devotion that feels almost unreal. For over 25 years, the marriage of James Brolin and Barbra Streisand has been one of those legends. It's a story of two industry giants finding love later in life, a story built on glamour, respect, and a bond that seemed unbreakable, but lately, a dark whisper has started to weave its way through this Hollywood fairy tale. It's a rumor that speaks of hushed conversations, heartbreaking choices, and a tragic diagnosis that threatens to bring the curtain down on one of the most celebrated love stories of our time. The story spreading online paints a picture of James Brolin, the rugged, steadfast leading man, facing his most challenging role yet, a devoted husband preparing to say a long, painful goodbye to the love of his life. We hear claims that he's turning down multi-million-dollar film roles, that they're merging their finances to handle a mountain of medical costs, and that he's pouring his heart out into a private journal. It's a story that has spread like wildfire because it's so powerful. But in a world where headlines are designed to be shocking, we have to ask a crucial question: how much of this is actually true? Today, we're going to separate the whispers from the truth. We'll look at the incredible love story of James Brolin and Barbra Streisand, examine where these troubling rumors came from, and most importantly, seek out the facts. Is James Brolin really saying goodbye, or is the real story about a love so strong it can weather any storm, including the storm of public speculation? Let's find out. The headlines are blunt, and the meaning behind them is devastating. James Brolin is saying goodbye after his wife's tragic diagnosis. It's a phrase designed to stop you in your tracks, conjuring images of a Hollywood icon brought to his knees by fate. For anyone who admires James Brolin and Barbra Streisand, those words are a punch to the gut. They suggest that after nearly 3 decades of what looked like a perfect marriage, the final, tragic chapter is being written. But is this what's really happening, or is it just a carefully constructed piece of clickbait, preying on our fascination with celebrity lives? As we're about to see, the truth is far more complex and, in many ways, much more inspiring. The internet is a breeding ground for stories, and when it comes to celebrities, the more dramatic, the better. The rumor about Barbra Streisand's so-called tragic diagnosis is a perfect example of how modern myths are made. It didn't just pop up out of nowhere, it was pieced together from half-truths, speculative articles, and those anonymous sources that tabloids rely on. So, let's look at what the rumor is actually made of. First, there's the alarming claim that Barbra Streisand, at 83, is battling a severe, life-altering illness. What is it? They never say. That vagueness is part of what makes it so powerful. Words like tragic, serious, and terminal are thrown around to create a sense of doom without any need for facts. These whispers often point to Streisand not being seen in public as much. A story in Star magazine from March 2025 claimed Barbra has become increasingly antisocial, while James is more outgoing. The narrative suggests that her writing her nearly 1,000-page memoir, much of it in bed, was proof of her retreating from the world because of failing health. The second piece of the rumor focuses on James Brolin's supposed reaction. This is where the story gets really cinematic. We're told that Brolin, a man who has always worked, is suddenly turning his back on Hollywood. Tabloid reports and YouTube videos speculate that he's turning down huge movie roles as a grand gesture of devotion, wanting to spend every last moment with his wife. This paints him not just as a husband, but as a martyr for love. The third piece adds financial drama. It's claimed that the couple is merging their separate, massive fortunes. Why? To manage the mounting medical bills for Streisand's care. This detail, true or not, makes the whole sensational story feel more plausible because it grounds it in a real-world concern. And finally, the most personal touch, James Brolin's private journal. The story goes that Brolin is documenting this painful journey, writing about their life together and preparing for a future without her. This transforms the rumor from public gossip into what feels like a deeply intimate story, making the audience feel like they have a window into his soul. Together, these four claims build a powerful and emotional story. It has all the elements of a Hollywood tearjerker, which is exactly why it's so easy to get sucked in. But just because a story is captivating doesn't make it true. To really get what's going on with these rumors, you have to go back to the beginning. The love story of James Brolin and Barbra Streisand isn't just another celebrity hookup, it's one of the most real and lasting romances in modern Hollywood. And it all started with a blind date. The date was July 1, 1996. Both Brolin and Streisand were in their 50s, both were giants in their fields, and both had already been through love and loss in the public eye. Streisand had been married to actor Elliot Gould, and Brolin had been married twice. Neither was really looking for a big romance. In fact, Brolin later told CBS Sunday Morning he hadn't been with anyone for 3 years before meeting Barbra, saying, "I had not had any interest in getting involved in a lousy situation. Friends set them up." Streisand, famous for her brutal honesty, greeted Brolin that night by making fun of his hair. "Who screwed up your hair?" she asked. It was a shockingly direct thing to say, but for Brolin, it was the moment he was hooked. He was captivated by her honesty. They talked for hours, and by the end of the night, something had changed for both of them. He ended up proposing to her 3 times before she finally said yes. It wasn't that she didn't want to, she just understood how serious marriage was and wanted to be absolutely sure. 2 years to the day after their first date, on July 1, 1998, they got married at Streisand's Malibu home. At the wedding, a tearful Brolin said, "I can't tell you how lucky I am that this would happen to me so late in life. Every night is a new adventure. Sleeping is a waste of time. I can't wait to see her again in the morning." That feeling has been the foundation of their marriage for over 26 years. Their secret seems to be surprisingly simple and down-to-earth. In a 2022 interview, Brolin said, "I think everybody needs to be a negotiator. Everybody needs to have patience and know when to take a walk." He said it again in an April 2025 interview on the Today Show, explaining, "You learn to take a walk. Both of us, not just me." Streisand agrees. She told Variety the secret is to listen carefully. She explained, "To be a good marriage partner, you have to listen. Hear the other person. Agree to disagree." They even said that being stuck together during the COVID-19 pandemic, which strained so many couples, actually brought them closer, but maybe the most charming secret to their happiness came from Brolin on that same Today Show appearance in April 2025. When asked about their upcoming 27th anniversary, he joked, "The best investment we've ever made is our mattress." He went on, "And don't misunderstand me. We're both lazy. We love to sleep late. We do a lot of our work on the phone, on paper, reading, right next to each other. It's a sweet, cozy image that paints a picture of comfortable companionship, a life built on small moments and mutual understanding." This is the reality of their bond, and it's a far cry from the tragic goodbyes the rumors are selling. Okay, so now it's time to put the sensational rumors to the test. When we hold these claims up against credible, verifiable evidence, a very different picture starts to take shape, one that completely dismantles the story the tabloids have built. Let's start with the most upsetting claim, that Barbra Streisand is suffering from a tragic illness. As of June 2025, there is zero credible evidence to support this. No reputable news source, no official spokesperson, and not Brolin or Streisand themselves have said anything to confirm a diagnosis. In fact, what Streisand has been doing lately directly contradicts the image of a woman who is gravely ill. Far from hiding away, she has been actively working. On April 30, 2025, it was announced she would be releasing a new album, The Secret of Life, Partners, Volume 2, which came out on June 27, 2025. This album features duets with huge names like Paul McCartney, Bob Dylan, and Sting. In a June 24, 2025 interview with the Associated Press to promote the album, Streisand was open about her life. She talked about feeling her age and wondering how much time she has left, a pretty normal reflection for someone in their 80s. But she framed it as wanting to stop and smell the roses, not as if she were facing a terminal illness. That's not what a person in the middle of a health crisis does, it's what a living legend who is still creating and sharing her art does. Now, what about the claim that James Brolin is saying goodbye to his career? That's also just not true. While he's no doubt a devoted husband, James Brolin hasn't stopped working at all. In fact, his career is having a bit of a moment. In April 2025, the Netflix Western series, Ransom Canyon, premiered, with Brolin in a major role. His co-stars have talked about how much energy the 84-year-old actor brings to the set. And he's not planning on stopping. In a Today Show interview on April 15, 2025, he spoke enthusiastically about 4 different directing projects he has in the works. This isn't a man who is retiring, he's an artist who is still very much in the game, and the claim about them merging their finances because of medical bills? That's pure speculation. Since there's no evidence of a tragic diagnosis, the idea of mounting medical bills has no basis in reality. Finally, that story about Brolin's private journal. Is he keeping one? Maybe. Lots of people do. Is he using it to write a long, tragic goodbye to his wife? There is absolutely no way to know that, and anyone who claims to know what's inside a person's private diary is just making things up. It's a powerful detail because it's so personal and impossible to disprove, the perfect ingredient for a viral rumor. The facts paint a picture of a vibrant, active, and committed couple. Barbara is releasing new music. James is starring in new shows. The tragic goodbye story is a total fabrication. The only thing they seem to be saying goodbye to is the idea of slowing down. So if the tragic diagnosis is a myth, does that mean their life is perfect? Of course not. That would be turning them back into the one-dimensional characters the tabloids want them to be. The truth is, their 28-year partnership has faced plenty of real, human challenges. The real test of their strength isn't how they're handling a fake tragedy, but how they've handled the very real pressures of a long marriage, a blended family, and living under a microscope. One of their biggest, most constant struggles is the battle against misinformation, like this very rumor. For decades, they've been tabloid targets. Their breakup has been predicted countless times. In March 2025, one story claimed their marriage was in trouble because Streisand's supposedly reclusive nature clashed with Brolin's career comeback. This is the background noise of their life. Just being able to ignore it and stay united is a testament to their bond that they've also had to navigate the private challenges of any long-term relationship. They got together in middle age, both with kids from previous marriages. Blending a family is a delicate dance that takes incredible patience. Brolin has 3 kids, including actor Josh Brolin, and Streisand has her son, Jason Gould. Creating a family unit out of that is a huge achievement, and let's be real, they are 2 powerful, creative, opinionated people. A successful partnership between 2 icons like them requires a lot of negotiation. Their secrets to a happy marriage, taking a walk during a fight, listening to each other, aren't just cute little tips, they are the hard-won strategies of a couple that has put in the work. They have also dealt with real health scares, just not the ones invented by the tabloids. For years, Streisand has been a huge advocate for women's heart health. This fight came from her own family's experience with heart disease. She was shocked to learn how differently it affects women and how under-researched it was. She co-founded the Women's Heart Alliance and has given millions to fund the Barbra Streisand Women's Heart Center at Cedars-Sinai. That is a real struggle, turning a personal scare into a public crusade to save lives, which is a far more powerful story than any fictional illness. The real struggles of James Brolin and Barbra Streisand aren't about a movie plot tragedy. They're about the everyday, profound challenges of building a life together, side by side, for nearly 30 years. So, we started with a dramatic, heartbreaking headline: James Brolin is saying goodbye after his wife's tragic diagnosis. It's a story designed to pull you in. But as we've peeled back the layers of rumor, we've found that the truth is something else entirely. This isn't a story about a tragic ending, it's about a love that continues to defy the fabrications of the Hollywood rumor mill. The central claim of the rumor is simply not true. There are no credible reports of a tragic diagnosis for Barbra Streisand. In fact, she's busy releasing a new album. The claim that James Brolin is quitting his career is also false. He's celebrating a career comeback with new shows and projects. What we're left with is the real story, which is less dramatic but so much more inspiring. It's the story of two people who found each other later in life and built a partnership on respect, patience, and real affection. It's a story of a couple who knows that the secret to a long marriage isn't grand gestures, but the small, everyday acts of love, knowing when to take a walk, listening to each other, and just enjoying sharing a quiet space together. The real insight into James Brolin's feelings isn't found in some imaginary journal filled with sadness, but in his public words of admiration for his wife and his funny, honest advice on what makes their love last. The goodbye he is supposedly writing doesn't exist. He and his wife seem to be embracing the next chapter of their lives and careers with as much passion as ever. In the end, this whole affair is a powerful reminder of how celebrity gossip works. Behind the shocking headlines are real people living real lives. And the most beautiful story here isn't the fictional tragedy, but the true one, the story of James Brolin and Barbra Streisand's unbreakable bond. It's a love that has flourished for nearly 3 decades, proving to be stronger than any rumor.